we've had some other guests come in who are opposed to the use of dairy products for various reasons, sometimes animal welfare reasons, which you and I have discussed before, but also for kind of broadly health reasons. You mentioned casein, and that's the thing that it often comes up, especially in the studies by T. Colin Campbell, who is also a now emeritus Cornell nutritionist, wrote the China study. We'll be interviewing him as well. He has these figures that suggest, and have been persuasive to many people, that casein is something that ultimately leads to what he calls diseases of affluence. So when you eat a lot of dairy, a lot of concentrated dairy and cheese, you become kind of addicted to it through the casomorphins that are there, and then you eat so much casein that you're liable to experience these cancers and heart diseases and so forth. Do you think there's anything to that?
I know Colin.
Yeah.
I consider him a friend.
Okay.
I do disagree with him professionally. I think, again, in excess, anything will make you sick. Soy has all kinds of problems in excess. Do we eat too much cheese? Do we eat too much rich foods? Do we have affluence and problems of affluence? Absolutely. But again, are they doing correlations? With humans, you can correlate. With animals, you're doing feeding studies. But as I just previously mentioned, when you're doing feeding studies, you're processing the product in a unique way to make it appropriate for feeding, and you're feeding it in even excess to what a human might be considered, because in fact, you want to have about tenfold more than what humans might consume. So, and you're feeding it constantly. So, in theory, there may be a grain of truth in his statement, but again, it's based on the assumption of excessive consumption, and excessive consumption of anything is something I would oppose. And again, we do have the complication where in affluence, people sometimes may in fact be lactose intolerant and sort of ignore it and hurt their system long-term, leading to some of the digestive problems, but there are multiple causes, because we don't, even those who eat lots of milk or drink lots of milk and eat dairy products don't only do that. They're eating lots of other things. So again, the animal experiments are important, but they cannot be extrapolated directly to humans. It gives us a sense of what makes sense.
I mean, the China study was with humans, though, right? I mean, it was
in China,
which
is a country that is almost totally lactose intolerant.
Why are so many of us lactose intolerant? I mean, if this is a good substance for us to be consuming, why did we evolve to have this?
Well, those of us who evolved in a dairy society were not lactose intolerant. Apparently, somewhere in the Northern European gene pool, lactose intolerance was overcome. I would say that probably the default is lactose intolerant, and we overcame that, and that was why people then started finding milk and dairy products, particularly cheeses and yogurts, which have a keeping quality, work beneficial. And in fact, there's a wonderful theory that I remember from my days as a dairy chemist, and it's a person by the name of Mechnikov, who studied the folks in the Balkans, which is the heart of yogurt eating country. And what his hypothesis was, totally opposite of Colin's, is that in fact the large consumption of yogurt correlated with longevity. So that the secret of the Balkans having this longevity was the amount of yogurt they ate. So that's the flip side. So there's
more Greek yogurt, right? Especially from upstate New York.
Right, but not in great excess. You know, have your Greek yogurt once a day, but don't have 5 of them at one sitting.